I'm Tom Goodborn. I'm the District 1 engineer for the Nebraska Department of Transportation. I want to thank you all for coming out. Frankly, we didn't know, with all the things going on in the country and in the world, how many folks we have tonight. Nebraska always shows up. Thank you. It's a big night for NDOT. It's a big night for the city of Lincoln, Lancaster County, Federal Highway Administration, and certainly for us at Nebraska Department of Transportation, because this thing's been coming for a long time. It's been highly prioritized for a long time, and we're finally on the books and ready to go to work. We're here to talk about the next phases and how we're going to phase through this construction. And you're going to hear from a lot of folks here about some phasing, and pay particular attention to that, because the phasing is key to your convenience or inconvenience, as the case may be. So it's taken a while to get here, as many as you know. We've spent a great deal of time and effort. A lot of people have spent a great deal of time and effort putting this together. There have been numerous meetings, countless public inputs, and the project you see before you is the one we have arrived at. All our stakeholders are in this together, and we hope as a community we can all you can get in on this together with us, and we can build this thing safely in the least amount of time. Our goal is to have folks driving on this in 3 years. I'm going to hand it off soon, but before I do, I want to ask you all to keep the schedule in mind. As I just said, as these gentlemen go through the schedule, this is going to tell you when roads are closed, what roads are closed, and where they're closed to and from. And we'll kind of set the trend for how folks are going to have to work around this. This is a big project. There's a lot of material being moved. There's a lot of equipment running around, big equipment that's going to be running around day and night a lot of times. It's going to be inconvenient. It's going to be a little bit painful. And it's something we're all going to have to wrap ourselves around and work with. We've got a great team, and we're looking forward to the project. It's large, it's on an expedited schedule, and we hope to have you driving on it again in 3 years. While we'll do what we can to minimize the impact, the timeline means our contractor will be moving quick, and you will probably be experiencing some traffic delay. And we had 77 down in one lane for a long time last year, and 77 will always be open. So it'll be no worse than that. So see, we're preconditioned. I'm going to hand it off to Tony Dirks here. Tony is the design team project manager with Alfred Benish and Company. He's the consultant responsible for the final design on the project. And with that, Tony.
Thanks, Tom. It's truly been an honor to be a part of this project. It's a major project, and it's something we've all been looking at and talking about for a long time. So this is nothing new, but maybe a moment that we've all been looking for a long time. I've got a slide up in front just to give you an idea of what we're going to go through here with our presentation, just to give you a little bit of background. So we're going to talk briefly about the purpose and need. We're going to talk a little bit about the timeline for construction. Talk about what's happening now and kind of what to expect as we move forward. We're going to go through some of the impact minimization, some of the things that we've talked about and heard from your previous meetings, how we've incorporated those into our design to try to minimize the impacts as best we can. You're going to hear directly from Hawkins Construction, who is our contractor for this project. They're going to talk through kind of their approach to the project construction and their phasing and how we're going to maintain the traffic, how we're going to show you guys what your accessible routes will be. Going to give you some idea of how you can maintain communication with us as we move forward, where you can get your information so that you guys can constantly be in the know of what's happening. And kind of following our presentation, then we will break into a kind of a continued open house format like we've been here for the last half an hour. And there'll be project representatives, folks from state, city, county, and the design team as well to be able to answer any questions you guys may have. So with that, I'll go into the purpose and need, and I didn't intend to visit much about this. As Tom mentioned, we've talked about this project for decades, and the purpose and need has not changed since the last time we've been out here to talk to you. Really, the purpose is to try to get that through traffic moved off, so that to connect the Highway 2 on the east side with I-80 on the west side, and trying to get those through movements out of going through Lincoln. Just a little bit about the timeline. So you've certainly seen some changes, right? In December 2019, NDOT took bids for construction and has awarded the construction contract to Hawkins Construction. Kind of at that same time, you started to see some clearing and grubbing, some of those trees beginning to remove. That was critical to make sure we were prepared for the freeway construction to start. You may have also seen some utility relocation. That work has been in the works now for several months and will continue kind of into construction as those utilities continue to get relocated so that they're kind of out of the way, I will say. So between now and May, you'll continue to see some minor work, some work that's off the roadway away, some of the box culverts and those things going in. And starting in May is when we're going to start to impact traffic and start to see some lane shifts and some work beginning. And you're going to hear from Hawkins more details as that goes. Again, as Tom mentioned, we want the freeway open to traffic in 3 years. That's going to be a major endeavor, and so we've been working very closely with all of our partners to put our plan together to make that happen. And then kind of just some minor work to follow in that 4th year. So a little bit of what to expect, and I don't know how much I could tell you. I can't tell you enough about how much coordination has been going on with all the partners. And Tom mentioned them, primarily city and county, though, the local agencies that we're working with. We're trying to make sure that we understand what their improvement projects are and make sure that we're maintaining and recognizing the impacts of all those projects at the same time. So that coordination is not going to stop. That will definitely continue into construction. We will do our best to kind of keep you all informed and make sure that we're maintaining traffic as best we can. Go back up, please. There will be delays and inconveniences. I'm not going to elaborate on that much more, but I think you can recognize that a project of this scale, there's going to be some inconvenience with this. But the goal here is to do this as quick as we can. Try to get in, get it built, and get out so that you guys can go on with your lives and really realize the benefits that are coming with the freeway. Certainly there'll be noise and additional construction activity. Tom talked about that as well. To get it done that quickly takes additional resources, additional equipment, additional labor. All that's going to be there to get the job done as quickly as they can. So what have we done to minimize those impacts? So we've been out here meeting with you folks over a number of years, and we've been hearing and listening to all those commitments and concerns, and we've done a great deal to try to address those and try to really minimize as best we can. This is not the list of what we've done to minimize. There's a whole bunch of other efforts, but this is, I think, the most important to you all, is that access. I think that's the number one item, and so we've built some very detailed phasing plans that the contractor will be utilizing to make sure that they're maintaining access at all times. As Tom mentioned, Highway 77 and Highway 2 will be maintained traffic at all times, one lane at least in each direction. You will always be able to get to your property. You're going to see some graphics here in a little bit that start to show the phasing. I heard some questions in the first half an hour. How come with the roads, I see an orange road, how am I going to get to my house? Well, we're going to maintain the traffic. We're going to get the through traffic off there, but the local traffic will still be able to get to the fields, to the farms, and to the homes. It may be through some temporary surface at times, but we're going to maintain traffic. A big thing is we recognize that this is a significant to the southern part of Lancaster County. We're going to make sure that we maintain the alternating north-south roads open at all times. So for example, when we're doing improvements to 68th Street, we'll be sure to have 54th Street and 82nd Street both open during that time to make sure that you guys can find an accessible route. We will maintain the trail open as well. We've got some specifications in our contract to encourage the contractor to minimize the closures. So there are times we do have to close the roads. That's just part of it, and we'll get that work built as quickly as we can, and we'll encourage them to get it back open as quick as they can. Paved roads, when we need to close a paved road for construction, we will put up some detour signage so that folks that are using a paved road can be detoured to other paved roads. And I'll just add the last one there is the contractor time allowance, and just very aggressive schedule. We're trying to get the freeway open in 3 years. We've got language in the contract to help make sure that happens, to get that done as quick as we can so that you guys can get it open, so we can get it open for you guys. Communication plans. We're going to continue to provide outreach and information to keep you all informed as best we can. In some of those ways will be a web page. We'll have a project-specific web page that you guys can log into and get up-to-date information at all times. There's going to be a place on that web page where you'll be able to call subscribe. So you put in your email address and say, I want to know every time this web page changes, and you can get notification when those changes happen. If you have any questions about how to do so, There's going to be a booth kind of across the hall where they'll have the website up, so if folks are interested in understanding how that will work, there'll be a booth over there to help explain that. We'll continue to have press releases as we get to major milestones on the project. Again, the goal is to keep you guys informed, so it's going to be minimize those inconveniences, I guess. Certainly we'll be notifying emergency service providers so that they know what the accessible routes are at all times, and to the schools as well. And for those that are using Twitter, we'll have a Twitter feed as well. They'll keep the updates out there. Just in the blue box, maybe just a point of contact, and you're going to see that on the boards. You'll probably see it on your fact sheet as well. There's a specific email address, or if you'd like to email any concerns, you're welcome to do so. And there's a phone number that you can call, generally during business hours, that you can voicemail if you're after hours. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Hawkins. And again, they're going to kind of step through the project, kind of step through the phases. Again, this is our best anticipation. This is our plan today, is how we're going to maintain traffic. So hopefully, as we go through here, you'll start to see kind of where the green route will be for you and for the different instances you have.
Hi, I'm Matt Lunsman with Hawkins Construction. I'll be one of the project managers on this project. Before we get too far into the details, let's first talk about what we were trying to show with the following graphics. I'm about to talk through our current plan for the construction phasing of the Lincoln South Beltway, as well as show you the results of the coordination up to this point. The next several graphics will depict the general anticipated schedule of the city and county improvement projects within this area. Hopefully it'll be clear. We have provided an access route, and that's going to be notified by any green roads you see on the project. The frame of reference for this slide, we got Southwest 12th Street on the left, 134th Street on the right, Roca Road on the bottom, and Old Cheney on the top. The green lines represent the local arterial road network, and the gray represents the planned improvements for the Lincoln South Beltway, shown here. We understand there's a lot of detail in these graphics. These are all printed on the boards and can be found in each of the stations after the presentation, where our project team would be happy to discuss any questions or comments you may have. On the first slide, we're representing the anticipated dates of now through May 2020. We are only seeing the current closure of the city project on Old Cheney, east of Highway 77, located right here. As noted earlier, impacts to traffic will begin in May. This slide shows the plan for maintaining traffic from May to November 2020. Note the city projects are depicted with an orange diamond located here, 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 and here. And the Lancaster County projects are depicted with an orange square, as represented here. The green routes are open to all traffic. I will generally describe the slides from left to right. Traffic on Highway 77 will be maintained for two-way traffic in the existing southbound lanes, as shown here. Bennett Road, 38th, 68th, 96th will all be closed for construction. Hawkins also plans to build the new Saltillo Bridge over the Beltway during this time frame. A signed detour will be provided for the closure of all roads. The detour for 68th Street will be utilizing Roca Road, 54th, and Saltillo. The detour for Saltillo Road will use the 84th, Highway 2, and 120th Street. Highway 2 traffic will be maintained as two-way traffic in the eastbound lanes, as depicted here.
Hi, I'm Alan Hayes, and I'm one of the project engineers on this job for Hawkins Construction. As we move into December 2020 to May 2021, there are a couple changes to note. Number one, there will be planned short-term closures on 25th Street for overhead construction. Additional information will be provided to the public as these closures draw near. The second change on this slide is the 70th and Saltillo closure. Following the planned completion of the city's improvements at 56th and Yankee Hill Road, 70th and Saltillo will close to construct the new roundabout, and traffic in this area will be detoured on 56th, Yankee Hill, and 84th. Improvements at this intersection by LPS are planned to be in this same general time frame to minimize traffic interruption.
From June 2021 to May 2022, you can see several changes. Highway 77 traffic will be shifted over to the new northbound lanes and maintained as two-way traffic. There will be a couple short-term closures of a few weeks of Saltillo Road and 14th Street, noted here by these orange dots. Detour and signing for closures will utilize Southwest 12th Street to Denton, on the west side of 77, and Pine Lake and 56 on the east side of 77. '68th would be completed, open to traffic, and carry some additional traffic from 54th into 82nd. As you can see, it's open now with the green there. You can see the detour of 54th Street utilizing Roca Road and 68th Street. 120th Street would be closed and the detour would utilize Saltillo, 84th, and Highway 2. Highway 2 traffic would shift it over to the westbound lanes and maintained as two-way traffic as depicted here with the orange.
Taking a closer look at the, Taking a closer look at the short-term closures on that west system interchange. Maintaining access in the west interchange is the most challenging part of this project, and therefore our phasing plans are more complicated. There are a few key points to make with this. First, traffic on Saltillo will be maintained with a temporary traffic signal at a temporary intersection located about 1,000 feet south of the current intersection. Next, there will be several short-term closures to reconstruct accesses to this area. Saltillo Road West, right there. For that, as this work is being done, traffic will be detoured on Southwest 12th and around to 77. For Shrine Way, we have a short-term closure. Access for this will be provided through a temporary right-in, right-out intersection from southbound Highway 77. Saltillo Road East. Saltillo will be closed between the two forks of 14th Street, and access will be maintained using these forks as a bypass around that closure. A couple that aren't shown for final tie-ins at 14th Street and Saltillo Road into the new project. We will have to shut down those roads for a short time. They will not be concurrently done, so access will be maintained with a detour either up or around 14th and then back down to Saltillo. Either way, it's going to be the same detour. The timing of these closures are dependent on many different things, so more information on timing will be provided to the public when available.
During the latter part of 2022, Hawkins will continue working in the west interchange, this area here, 27th Street interchange, and 82nd Street interchange. You can see by the green lines in this graphic, 54th Street is now open. And most of the work in the east interchange has been complete, this area right in here. By the middle of 2023, we expect the Lincoln South Beltway to be substantially complete, which means through traffic will be traveling down the newly constructed freeway. The entire freeway is open, and the only remaining work is generally associated with the 27th and 82nd Street intersections.
As noted before, Hawkins plans to complete this project within the 4-year time frame. I realize that we have given you guys a lot of information in a short amount of time. Everything is back. We can talk about it after more one-on-one. We have representatives from Hawkins and from the state to discuss it. And as things are updated and as our plans change, things will be provided to the public.
Thanks, guys. Again, a lot of details there, so didn't expect everybody taking notes and remembering all this. We're going to continue to communicate with you folks, just as we talked about before, through all these mechanisms, website, Twitter, press releases, we've got email and phone. Be lots of communication to be shared, right? Next slide. That concludes our presentation. Again, we're going to take questions and meet with you all back there around those stations. If you haven't already been back there, we're kind of generally organized from west, middle, and east. So if you've got specific questions about your particular location, you might head in those particular directions, but they've all got the same information, so it's not like you need to get to each station. And with that, that concludes our presentation. Again, thank you all for coming. It's great to see so much interest in the project, and we look forward to visiting you in the back. Thank you.